Well, I certainly hope you're all enjoying Valentine's Day. I've seen some very heartfelt emotions expressed by some of you to your loved ones on the internet. Now, that may not be the most private way to express yourselves, but it is one more way that we stay connected. My Valentine, Mary, is in North Carolina. She's there to visit her mother. So we talked yesterday by telephone. And I'll send her a virtual chocolate-covered rose on Facebook. Now, don't think I'm shirking my Valentine duties. Mary is living right now in a house that's at the bottom of a hill, a steep, snow-covered, icy driveway. And the flower shops in Boone, North Carolina tell me they cannot deliver right now. So, that's got to be tough on the flower shops. After all, this is their day. But electrons still flow. So I guess this ought to be a sermon about love. There's enough love scripture that I ought to be able to pull something together. But the idea of love comes really from the heart. It's an emotion that we all need to express and to receive. So I'm going to follow my heart this morning and talk a little about our expressions from the heart. What we say and what we meant to say. And if you think about it, our scripture this morning deals with that subject in several different ways. But as an aside here this morning, I'd like to give you some examples of what we said and didn't mean. And this comes from some famous quotes of church bulletin writers. You've probably heard some of these, but I came across a new batch to share with you. These were actual quotes in church bulletins. The fasting and prayer conference includes meals. The sermon this morning, Jesus walks on the water, will be followed by the sermon tonight, Searching for Jesus. Ladies, don't forget the rummage sale. It's a chance to get rid of those things not worth keeping around the house. Bring your husbands. For those of you who have children and don't know it, we have a nursery downstairs. Potluck supper at 5 p.m., prayer and medication to follow. And this is my favorite. The ladies of the church have cast off clothing of every kind. They may be seen in the basement on Friday. Weight Watchers will meet at 7 p.m. at the First Presbyterian Church. Please use the large double door at the side entrance. How easy it is to say things you don't mean. As much as we laugh at these funny little interludes, we're also filled with remorse when we say something to a loved one that comes out all wrong. How awful we feel when that person doesn't understand what we meant and has been hurt needlessly. In the church, we speak of the Bible as the living word. And sometimes that seems not only a metaphorical, but a literal fact. The Bible seems to grow in verses, or so it seems. And I've been through the Gospel according to St. Luke a few times. Verse by verse, I taught the Gospel of St. Luke in a Bible study once. I've preached most of Luke at one time or another, but I've never heard this 45th verse of the 6th chapter until just a short time ago. And while planning my preaching this morning, this verse stood up on the page to accuse me. I suppose this verse judges us all. One speaks out of the abundance of the heart. That's the wording in my translation of the Bible. Yours was a little different. One speaks out of the abundance of the heart. And my reaction in reading these words was felt deep in my chest, because I remembered words once spoken, never to be called back. I thought of angry words spoken in frustration, bitter words that describe too clearly an inner poverty of the heart. One speaks out of the abundance of the heart. We all remember words spoken. Remember things people said to you. Remember, if you will, the good words and the encouraging things spoken to you long ago. The words might be dusty and faint in memory, but they are not. Calling them to mind buoys us up again over and over to remember the generosity of the person who spoke them. Think of your mentors. Think of those people that were important in your lives as you were growing up. Think of the words of encouragement that they gave you, that formed you. And remember, too, the words that struck you and hurt you. After so many years, you would imagine that they would lose their power and they would grow dull. But they still cut, and you feel their pain, and you know another sort of tears. I believe there is one thing that is crystal clear in Jesus' teachings. Speak from your heart. Speak absolute truth from your heart. And do not say something to another member who may be turned off or turned away from the church by your words. As our visioning team has been working to give us direction and guidance for the future, I know that I must remember that all the people have as much right to their ideas as I do. And my opinion is only one, and not necessarily the right one. The members of the team have prayed about their direction. They believe their work is answered prayer. I hope you will find next week, when we have our congregational meeting, that their vision embraces us all and encourages us all, because that vision comes from their heart. The things we say, we would take them back if we could. Sweep up the old discarded words. Sweep them up from the floor. Get rid of them and dump them into the trash where they belong. But there's no retrieving them. Once spoken, the words are right out there forever